Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope you all are doing well out there. I mentioned a little bit earlier our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. It's a great way to interact with the show, support the show as well. Just $5 a month to get the inside scoop on all things BYU that I am hearing. If you would like to be a part of it, click the link in the show notes below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or get it wherever you get your podcast. And the best part is the kicker for this, you get 2 full weeks, 14 days before you're charged anything, and the updates come to your phone in the form of a text message. No message boards to log into or having to go to a website to get the inside intel. It comes to your phone in the form of a text message. Does not get much more direct than that. So join us today on the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. All right, BYU basketball, huge win against the West Virginia Mountaineers, 73-69, and this game has reignited BYU's chances of staying in the NCAA tournament field. Joe Lunardi, as many of you know, the bracketologist supreme, said this earlier today. BYU West Virginia was on his headlines of what the day would entail for basketball. He said this: BYU falls out of the field with a loss and Arkansas moves in. Well, BYU won this game and have reestablished themselves in that the last 4 in right now in the NCAA tournament field. The other thing about this game against West Virginia for BYU is it's a quad 1 game. BYU's been lacking severely in the quality wins department. They now have 3 of them. West Virginia is the 3rd, and it sets up BYU for a really, really big opportunity this coming Saturday and the following Tuesday when Kansas State comes to the Marriott Center on Saturday evening, and then obviously Kansas, the Jayhawks, making the trek to Provo the following Tuesday. If you can split those games, BYU's right back in the mix when it comes to their chances of going dancing. You sweep those games, and it feels like you may have the inside track and it may have locked yourself up a spot. So it's crazy to think that one game could do it, but I said it on yesterday's podcast for those of you who are everydayers. That game against West Virginia, it really kind of held the key to BYU's chances of going dancing or looking at the NIT and as their postseason options. I didn't mean to come off as fatalist or hot takey, but it really felt that way because consider BYU had lost back-to-back games against Arizona and against Cincinnati, and we're sitting at 6-6. Well, now you're 7-6. Now you can go out there with some confidence after a strong win against West Virginia and think, okay, we got everything in front of us. This game, I do have to say it was a full team effort. It was cool. Remember, against Cincinnati, late in that game, Mihailo Boskovic as well as Trey Stewart came in and put together a run that got BYU back into that game. Kevin Young stuck with that lineup a little bit too long, and it burned them in the end after they get it blown out by Cincinnati. But those 2 guys, Kevin Young said it earlier this week as well as post-game, had earned themselves an opportunity to play more for BYU. Well, how do they reward their head coach for his belief in them? Well, they go out and have very impactful games. Trey Stewart hit multiple 3-pointers for the first time in his BYU career. Really impressed with what he offered to BYU. Came in and hit a big 3 off the bench at the end of the first half. Had a strong second half. I think he ended up with 8 points. I'm just pulling up the box where 8 points on 3 of 3 shooting. Really strong game for him. And then Mihailo Boskovic, remember that final stanza of the game. West Virginia said, okay, that ball's going to Richie Saunders. We're going to blitz him. Well, what does Mihailo do? He sets a ball screen. Richie, as he always does, seems to make a play, finds Boskovic, and Boskovic knows exactly what to do with the clock running down. Goes right to the rim, gets fouled, and makes the free throw, puts BYU up 4, and that's all she wrote for BYU. I would say my players of the game for BYU, even though they didn't have the starring roles all game long, Mihailo Boskovic and Trey Stewart. They were indicative of guys who have been stuck and glued to the bench for long stretches of the season. And when Kevin Young and BYU needed them, they stepped up. That was really cool to see that. I also really liked what I saw from Jaeger Demon. 16 points, 6 of 12 from the field, just 1 of 4 from 3. But Jaeger continues to show that he is growing and getting better with every single game. My hopes of him sticking around at BYU are fading very, very quickly. They already weren't very high, but the more he has success against teams like West Virginia, who are very good defensive teams, indicate to me that he may not be long for BYU and Provo. Cannon Catchings, the only other guy, funny enough, for BYU in double digits. Cannon Catchings, 2 of 4 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, but more importantly, 5 of 6 from the free throw line. Those free throw woes that BYU's had all season long, very strong game today. 13 of 16, 81.3%. Not their best 3-point shooting night, 10 of 28, 35.7% from the field. But if you watch West Virginia defend, they were absolutely intent on making it so that BYU couldn't get their shots where they wanted them from the 3-point line. They wanted to push BYU off those spots. So I thought it was overall a strong performance. I will also add this. In the first half, BYU had 9 turnovers, and those contributed to 13 points off those turnovers that helped West Virginia take a 34-32 lead. In the second half, let me make sure I get this right here. The overall turnovers for BYU in this game, 12. Turnovers have been an absolute just killer for BYU in these games. Just 3 in the second half. That's a huge key as to why BYU was able to get this victory. They took care of the basketball in the second half. I don't know what Kevin Young said at halftime. I don't know what was said internally amongst the players, but taking care of the basketball, just 3 turnovers in the second half, you can't discount that any but way that BYU did exactly what they needed to do to get a huge win. And it's going to engender a lot of confidence in these guys. They went to a really, really tough place to win, one of the furthest road trips they're going to take all season long. And they walk out of there with one of their finest victories of the season. Now it sets up, like I said, for a huge week ahead. You can take Kansas State down because K-State's among the hottest, if not the hottest team in the Big 12 right now, is 5 straight wins coming into tonight. I don't know at this juncture how K-State did. Let's see if I can pull this up here as we're going along here. But the bigger point to be made is they are setting themselves up to punch their ticket. Oh, wow. Okay. Kansas State is absolutely the hottest team in the Big 12. All they did, I just pulled this up, is beat number 13 ranked Arizona 73-70. So they have won 6 straight. They're going to be coming in brimming with confidence as they come to Provo this coming weekend. So it sets up for a major opportunity for BYU, but also at the same time, you can't get too out over your skis if you're BYU basketball. These are going to be very tough games. Kansas is a blue blood. They're one of the toughest teams to beat. They will take confidence, speaking of BYU, knowing that they went to Lawrence last year and won. But Kansas State, they're going to absolutely come and expect to win. I also expect the Marriott Center is going to be filled to the brim, and it is going to be epically loud. I fully expect The Rock. I expect all of Cougar Nation to fill that place to the rafters and be in full throat. And I, for one, cannot wait to watch it all go down. And obviously, we'll have a full recap for you guys on our Locked On Cougars coming up over the weekend. We'll do postcasts after those games and everything, so we'll have you covered from top to bottom. But as always, truthfully, appreciate all of your guys' support. I made it through a live podcast here, so this is pretty fun. We'll do more of these, I think, going forward. When you have impactful news like this with Tom Homo, I decided, you know what? Let's give it a shot. It's no time like the present to give it a shot. We'll do more of these in the future because now that I know I can get through it without like falling all over myself, we'll work it in. But as always, once again, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And once again, thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.